every single morning, millions of people wake up and actively, systematically practice destroying their own futures.
Right.
And the craziest part, they think they're just, checking their email or
Yeah.
hitting the snooze button or
Yeah.
catching up on the news for 5 minutes.
Right. It is the ultimate illusion, really, because we are wired to look out for massive catastrophic threats to our lives. The sudden bankruptcy, the terrible accident, the dramatic public failure.
It's big stuff.
Exactly. But ruin rarely announces itself with flashing lights. Real destruction is almost entirely silent.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we have a really fascinating stack of excerpts from a book called The Invisible Architect: How Daily Habits Design Your Destiny.
Such a good text.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive is to explore the hidden mechanics of how our tiniest, most seemingly harmless daily actions are secretly building or destroying who we become.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Uh-huh.
Because the text points out a universal truth right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Everyone has at least one bad habit they tell themselves is just small or completely harmless. Right. And the most terrifying thing about these bad habits is their disguise. I mean, if a destructive habit actually looked dangerous, you would run the other way.
Obviously.
But they never arrive looking like ruin. They show up looking like a warm blanket. They present themselves as comfortable, easy, pleasurable, and safe. And, well, that is how the trap is set.
As we go through this material today, I want you to think about your own daily routines. Picture your morning, your commute, your evening wind down. Because the profound realization we are going to explore is that these invisible habits don't destroy a life overnight. They destroy a future quietly.
Yeah, and to understand how that quiet destruction actually takes root, the text gives us a brilliant, evocative image. It says, it is like water slowly cracking stone.
Oh, water cracking stone, that's powerful.
It really is. It's a mechanism of imperceptible transformation. It starts with, just one skipped workout, just one late night, one lie, or telling yourself you're going to scroll on your phone for just 5 minutes before getting out of bed.
Let me stop you right there because I have to play devil's advocate for a second. If I'm listening to this, I'm probably feeling a bit of skepticism.
Sure.
Is it really fair or even accurate to label just 5 minutes of scrolling as destruction? Let's use a car analogy. A catastrophic failure is wrapping your car around a telephone pole, right?
Right.
5 minutes of scrolling feels like getting a tiny microscopic scratch on the bumper. Why in the world is a tiny scratch fatal?
It's a completely fair question.
Right.
Why care about the scratch? Well, to understand that, we have to look at the psychology of threat detection. The danger lies exactly in the lack of drama.
How so?
If you wrap your car around a pole, your environment forces a reaction. You have no choice but to call a tow truck and deal with the consequences. But the tiny scratch doesn't trigger your brain's threat detection system, the amygdala.
It just doesn't register.
It registers as zero threat, so you ignore it.
Because it doesn't immediately affect how the car drives.
Exactly. Wait, let me take that a step further. It doesn't just fail to affect the car. It actually trains your psychology to tolerate damage. Because you ignore that first scratch, you don't notice the second one.
Oh.
You ignore the rust starting to form. People rarely notice these habits in the beginning. And that is the exact mechanism that allows them to compound silently, day by day.
Wait, I want to dig into that compounding effect. When you say you're training your psychology, you mean the actual danger isn't the 5 minutes lost, it's the permission you're giving yourself?
That is the invisible architecture at work. When you tell yourself, I'm only going to scroll for 5 minutes, and you scroll for 40, the lost 35 minutes isn't the real tragedy.
It's not?
No, the real tragedy is that you just taught your brain that your own word means nothing. You are actively eroding your boundary against impulsive action.
Which means the next time you set a boundary, your brain already knows you probably won't respect it.
Right. It's a phenomenon psychologists call a baseline shift. We adapt to the new normal. And this happens because the human brain is fundamentally an efficiency machine.
It likes things to be easy.
It absolutely loves repetition. Whatever action is repeated, the brain accepts as the normal state of affairs, completely, regardless of whether that action is actually good for your long-term survival.
The examples the text provides for this normalization process are honestly chilling. It points out that a person who wastes an hour daily eventually stops feeling guilty about it.
Yeah.
Or a person who is addicted to negativity begins seeing darkness literally everywhere. Their brain just filters out the good.
And perhaps the most common one, the person who constantly procrastinates.
Oh, this one hit hard. The text notes that chronic procrastinators eventually start believing the false narrative that they work better under pressure.
Let's break down the mechanics of why they believe that. It's not that they actually produce higher quality work under pressure.
Right. Nobody does their best work panicking at 3 a.m.
Exactly. It's that they have weakened their task initiation muscles so much that they physically cannot start a project without the massive biological spike of adrenaline and cortisol that a looming deadline provides.
So they need the stress just to function.
They're relying on panic to override their bad habits.
It's like, imagine buying a cheap plastic Halloween mask. You put it on for a party, just for fun, just for one night, but you wear it too long,
Right.
and slowly, cell by cell, that plastic starts fusing to your skin until one day you look in the mirror and you literally cannot find the seam where the mask ends and your actual face begins.
That is a terrifying thought.
It is wild to think that a habit eventually stops feeling like a choice and actually starts feeling like a personality.
What's fascinating here is that the missing scene you are describing isn't just a poetic metaphor.
Yeah.
It is a biological reality.
Wait, really?
Yeah. When we talk about actions rewiring the brain, we have to look at the actual mechanism, something called myelination.
Myelination, like
Well,
insulation on a wire.
very similar. Every time you perform an action, a neural pathway fires in your brain. If you repeat that action, your brain coats that specific neural pathway in a fatty substance called myelin.
Okay, so what does the myelin do?
Myelin makes the signal travel faster and more efficiently. Think of it like a hiker walking through a dense, overgrown forest. The first time you walk a new path, it's exhausting. You're hacking through brush with a machete.
That's what trying a new good habit feels like, high resistance.
Exactly. But if you walk that same path every single day,
It becomes a smooth, paved highway.
your brain myelinates the path. Now apply that to bad habits. Every single time you make an excuse, you are paving a neurological highway for weakness.
Wow.
Every time you delay a task, you are strengthening the physical neural circuitry of procrastination. People mistakenly think habits are temporary behaviors.
Are there not?
No. A habit slowly becomes character, and character eventually becomes destiny, because you are physically building the architecture of your brain with every repeated decision. You are cementing identity-based habits.
And if the internal vulnerability of our own brain wasn't enough of a hurdle, we have to look at the environment we are living in. Because the modern world is essentially custom-built to exploit this exact biological vulnerability.
We are living inside a distraction machine.
We really are. It is an environment engineered for human failure.
Modern life accelerates this slow destruction exponentially because distraction is no longer accidental. It is weaponized.
The text highlights how apps aren't just neutral tools anymore. They are meticulously designed to steal attention. Notifications are specifically built to interrupt your peace.
Yeah.
We have endless feeds of short-form videos training the brain to actively avoid silence. The authors state bluntly that the human brain was never designed for infinite entertainment.
Do you understand why it's so destructive? We have to look at the concept of variable reward schedules.
Is that like a slot machine?
That is exactly the mechanism. If an app gave you a great funny video every single time you swiped, you would actually get bored eventually. The dopamine hit would stabilize.
Because it's predictable.
Right. But social media apps use variable rewards. You might swipe 3 times and see boring content, and then the 4th swipe is something hilarious or enraging.
Oh, I see.
That unpredictability spikes dopamine production to abnormal levels.
Hmm.
Your brain gets hooked on the anticipation of the reward rather than the reward itself.
And millions of people now wake up, and the very first thing they do before they even speak a single word to another human being in their own home is grab that slot machine.
It's true.
Some people spend more time staring at screens than looking at the real physical world around them. And the craziest part, nobody thinks it's strange anymore.
Because the abnormal has become the environmental baseline.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The text points out this massive, tragic irony of our modern era. We have become a society that is constantly consuming, but we are rarely actually thinking.
Yeah.
We are constantly reacting to the next ping, the next outrage, the next viral video, but we are rarely living intentionally. We're just bouncing from stimulus to stimulus.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the macro effect is deeply concerning. When an entire society normalizes a fundamentally unhealthy behavior, the bad habits completely stop looking dangerous.
It's like if everyone around you is coughing, you stop worrying about the air quality. You just assume human beings are supposed to cough all the time.
That's a perfect analogy, yes. Because constant distraction is normalized, we're becoming less focused and highly dependent on external stimulation just to feel baseline normal.
Which means we're terrified of just sitting quietly in a room.
We are completely losing our tolerance for the discomfort of boredom. And why does that matter? Because boredom, neurologically speaking, is where all deep thought, creativity, and self-reflection actually happen.
Oh, wow.
When you eliminate boredom, you eliminate the space required to figure out who you actually want to be.
That paints a pretty bleak picture. We have brains that physically fuse habits into our identity, living in an economy designed to feed us terrible habits. It feels like a rigged game.
It can definitely feel that way.
But the Invisible Architect shifts gears here to show how we can reclaim our agency. It asks us to visualize a sort of time paradox, a tale of two futures.
This thought experiment is perhaps the most powerful pivot in the entire text.
Mm-hmm.
It asks you to take two versions of the exact same person.
Okay.
They have identical dreams, the same baseline intelligence, the exact same opportunities in life. There's only one single divergence.
Then what's that?
One person takes control of their daily habits, and the other person allows themselves to be controlled by them.
And you fast forward just 5 years. The text points out that their lives no longer look remotely the same.
Not at all.
The one who controlled their habits is remarkably stronger. They have built discipline. The other is exhausted because they have spent 5 years building excuses.
The exhaustion you just mentioned is key. It comes down to something called decision fatigue.
Oh, like when you're just tired of making choices.
Exactly. The person who built discipline doesn't have to use willpower to go to the gym or read a book anymore. Their brain has paved that highway. It's automatic.
Right.
The undisciplined person burns massive amounts of mental energy every single day just fighting themselves, trying to force themselves to do basic tasks.
And it all goes back to the ultimate trap, which the text defines as a time paradox. Bad habits give you pleasure right now, in the moment, but they guarantee suffering later.
Yes.
Good habits demand effort and discomfort right now, but they guarantee peace later.
Psychologists refer to this flaw in our thinking as hyperbolic discounting. It's a fancy term for a simple human glitch.
Okay, lay it on me.
Our brains value immediate rewards much higher than future rewards, even if the future reward is objectively better. A bad habit hacks that primitive survival system.
It screams, here is comfort right now, take it.
But over time, that comfort compounds into pain. Good habits require you to override that ancient program.
You have to push past the resistance.
You have to consciously choose the pain of discipline in the present moment, knowing that over time, that discipline compounds into freedom.
So what does this all mean? How do you actually apply this today? Well, it means exposing the massive fallacy of waiting to feel ready.
Oh, absolutely.
How many times do we say, I'll start the project or the diet or the book when I feel motivated? The text is brutal about this. It says motivation is a temporary emotional state.
It's fleeting.
You cannot build a stable life on an emotion that comes and goes like the weather. Motivation is temporary, but habits are permanent.
This is the practical insight we see consistently when studying highly successful people. They rarely rely on motivation.
Really?
Yeah, they talk about routines, almost obsessively. They understand that future success isn't hidden in grand, sweeping plans or massive, audacious goals. It is hidden in mundane daily behavior.
So it's not the big, sexy leaps.
Oh, changing your life is actually vastly less dramatic than people think. It's not about moving to a cabin in the woods or completely reinventing your personality overnight.
It's the tiny, boring changes.
Precisely. It's making the choice to wake up 30 minutes earlier. It's reading 10 pages of a book instead of 0. It's walking every day.
They've turned off the phone.
It's making the active, uncomfortable choice to turn the smartphone completely off for just 1 single hour a day. These are unglamorous changes.
Well, they add up.
But when you repeat them consistently, the myelination process we talked about takes over. They literally rewire your brain to create a completely different human being.
It all circles back to the fact that the real battle of modern life isn't against society or your boss or the algorithm or other people.
No.
The real battle is entirely internal. It's a quiet war against the invisible habits that are slowly taking control of your mind. Because if you aren't paying attention, comfort easily becomes an addiction.
It does.
And as we've seen, addiction becomes identity. You eventually reach a point where you throw your hands up and falsely claim, well, this is just who I am.
This raises an important question, and it's one the text asks us to confront directly. Imagine meeting yourself 10 years from today.
Okay, picturing it.
If you walked into a room and sat down across from the decade-older version of you, would that future version thank you for the daily actions you are taking right now? Or would they blame you?
Oof, that's heavy.
Because the hard truth is, every single day you are becoming someone. Even when you do nothing. Even when you delay or avoid responsibility or scroll for just 5 minutes,
It still counts.
the future is still being created, decision by decision, habit by habit.
Which leaves you with one final, deeply provocative thought to mull over. If our daily repetitions truly become our character, it forces us to look at ourselves in a really uncomfortable mirror.
It does.
What if the very things you proudly consider to be your unique personality quirks, or what you assume is just your inherent nature, are actually nothing more than fossilized habits? Things you picked up entirely by accident years ago, repeated without thinking, until they hardened into what you now call you. Are you truly acting as your authentic self? Or are you just a collection of invisible habits that have been driving the car for so long you've actually convinced yourself you're the engine?
That's the real question.
Something to think about the next time you tell yourself a bad habit is just small and harmless. Until next time, thanks for taking the deep dive.